Hello everybody and welcome to the stream, the Retro Tuesday stream where we play something that's from yesteryear. This time around we are playing a Sailor Moon game, which I have never actually played before, ever. This is the Game Gear Sailor Moon, which is apparently a platformer. Well, I would assume so, given how old the hardware is, and yeah, it should be fun. I have played plenty of Sailor Moon games before. I'm actually a big fan of the arcade one in particular, whatever that one's called. The brawler that works a bit like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles or Simpsons, but is Sailor Moon themed. I'm a big fan of that one. But yeah, I've never played this one before, so this should be fun. Hello Dithy Ram, and welcome to the stream. You did request Sailor Moon. This is the only one I actually can seem to find access to right now, so yeah, you'll have to put up with me playing this one. So we've seen a little bit of a demonstration of the game in action right here. It seems very nice. For a Game Gear game, it looks quite pretty actually. I mean, you'd kind of expect so, Sailor Moon being what it is. It needs to have nice artwork and character design. This one seems to be catching that. So we'll give people a moment or two to jump on, and then we'll get into the game itself. Anyway, in the meantime, how you been, Dithy? How was your weekend? Did you play lots of video games? And by that I mean read lots of visual novels. I hope you did. Hope this is all coming through, actually. And not saying many people, it's not showing any concurrent viewers on my system, so hopefully people are actually seeing this. There we go. I think you're on. Dithy, you're here. Can you hear me? Hope you can hear me. Otherwise, apologies. I might just test it to see that people can hear me. Hang on a second. I can hear myself. So hopefully, hopefully you can hear me okay. I did make her cry. So I don't know all that much about Sailor Moon, actually, to be honest. I'm a casual fan in the truest sense. I will watch it when it's on, but I never watched that much of it growing up. It wasn't that accessible, I guess, here in Australia. I don't even know when it was on, to be honest. Yeah, I don't know if it was on Australian TV at all. So I never actually watched it. I have since caught up with the basics of Sailor Moon, and I do like it, actually. I do like the whole magical girl formula. So I think I would like Sailor Moon more if I had a chance to watch it, but I just haven't had much of a exposure to it, and of course it's such an old and storied series now that it's a little bit hard to get in from ground zero. So yeah, I'm a casual fan, but I do like the art style, I do like the characters, so yes, shame about the gaming industry indeed. That's why I play retro games back in a simpler time when things were nicer. Anyway, let's get into it, shall we? Yeah, see, I didn't even know if there's a censored... What do you censor about Sailor Moon? It's all so wholesome. I don't even want to know. I don't even want to know what they probably say they censored. So this one's all in Japanese. I don't know if there were many Sailor Moon games that are actually localized into English. I don't even know if the arcade one that I play sometimes, because I've got it on my arcade table that I have at home. I don't know if the arcade one is in Japanese or not, to be honest. I can't remember. But this one is obviously in Japanese. Oh, right. Okay. Well, that makes sense. They would do that, wouldn't they? The Australian Classification Board. So just before we get into the game itself, we have some fun news about censorship in the Australian Japanese entertainment industry. One of the most prominent bookstores for Japanese manga was forced to pull a whole bunch of its manga off shelves, including Sword Art Online, which is probably the most recognisable title of the lot, because one of our lovely senators in South Australia, which isn't even where the bookstore is, decided to protest about it being too sexualised or some crap. Anyway, that's the kind of what we still have to deal with to this day in Australia. Censorship left, right and centre. Actual censorship from the actual politicians with regards to Japanese anime and manga and video games as well. Alright, on that negative note, let's get into the fun game. Let's press buttons for entertainment. So remembering, of course, that the Game Gear was a very primitive bit of hardware. This is the Sega handheld, and it is a very old bit of hardware. It is looking quite nice. I quite like the art style. Nice vivid colours. The character sprites are nice. Oh, and I'm punching and kicking okay too, so It's off to a pretty good start. Oops. Ah, I got hit. So it looks like the hearts at the top are my limit in terms of health. That means I can't take too many hits. I have no idea if the music's very nice, because I turn the music off when I'm doing these streams. Can climb along here. So I have no idea if the music's any good. Oops, dodge that. I hope it's nice. I mean, the basic Sailor Moon theme is very pretty. Pretty bit of music. Okay, so we are talking about a very... Oh, no, whoops. Oh, dear. I had a bit of a Castlevania incident there. For people who remember the original Castlevania, there were knockbacks that the enemy could throw at you. Well, if the enemy hit you, you got knocked back, and one of the game's favourite tricks was to hit you back and knock you down a gap to the end of... to lose a life. So it looks like this game has that similar difficulty approach. Well, you can always contact Kinokuniya themselves. I have no idea. They probably won't listen to you, you know that, right? Can't afford the fallout from being seen to sell perverted stuff. That's the big problem with it all, with all this censorship stuff that we have to deal with in Australia. You can't exactly argue against it, because if you do, it implies things about you that are really quite nasty to imply, really. And not necessarily true at all if you just stand up for the manga or whatever. It's just what they do. So, fairly standard early era platforming here, where there's a couple of different levels that you can climb up and down. I'm quite liking this, actually, to be honest. As simple as it is, it's quite charming. Like I said at the start of the stream, this is actually the very first time I played this. So, no idea if how far... Well, I'm going to get hit by that. No idea how far I'll actually get. Good kick. Ah, that's how you cast magic. By pressing and holding a button. I believe the Game Gear only had 2 buttons to work with, so everything had to be done with just a couple of buttons. Oh, there we go. I think I finished the level. Yeah, that politician's from the Xenophon Party, and the Xenophon Party, that politician was from the South Australian branch, where the Xenophon Party is pretty powerful. They also have a senator in the Australian Parliament who's every bit as hardcore on this topic. It seems to be a party line thing, and by golly, they're going to advocate for it. So, unfortunately, it's what we're going to have to deal with for a while, because they're not going away. They're a pretty powerful party in South Australia. For those tuning in, not that attuned to what goes on in the Australian games industry, South Australia happens to be the problem child of the games industry, because that's where we also had resistance to having an R18 rating in video games for the longest time, before finally the rest of the country saw reason. Oops. Anyway, enough of the politics, and we're here to play Sailor Moon, and as we all know, Sailor Moon is not political at all. Uh-oh. Oh dear. So you can really get knocked back by those attacks. That's very unfortunate. I've only got 0 lives left too. I'm not very good at platformers. For people who may have been on the Shantae stream a couple of weeks ago, I'm really not good at this genre at all. So I'm not going to make it very far tonight, I guarantee that. I used to play a lot of platformers, especially on the little handhelds as a kid. I had a lot of them on my Game Boy. And I got through them through sheer perseverance. And killed a couple of game cartridges trying to get through them. I quite liked the genre back then, but I've since not... Oh dear. I've since fallen out of love with it a bit, mostly because I do suck at it. It's a bit hard to enjoy something when you're that bad at it, like that. Oh good, I can continue. Continue. Phew. I don't want to start from... I'll probably have to start from level 1 now. It continues probably work after every set of stages. That's how they did things back in these days, to add longevity, make everything so difficult for people like me. No, I get to go from stage 1 to again. Excellent. Now that rose item that I pick up must make me invincible for a while. That's why I'm flashing. That was a typical sign of invincibility back in these days when you picked up the star as Mario or whatever. That was how they depicted it, so I'm guessing that's what's happened here. I hate those wheels already, whatever they are. I hate them. They annoy me. Okay, so let's try that again. I want to avoid the wheels, so I'm going to try and jump up here and stay up here. Ooh, that was a nice bit of treasure. And I pick up a mirror, and I believe that'll finish another level. I'm cruising at this stage. That Reddit drama, an anarchist subreddit mod posted on Pix Daily, all safe for work. Worse than actually... Right, okay. That sounds very Reddit-like. So far, all very standard platforming tricks, but very nice and clean. It's controlling nicely too. Oh, I picked up 3 items, so that turns into Super Sailor Moon. Maybe boss type. Yeah, it's unfortunate, isn't it? That they... all of the drama at the moment that's going on the internet. I get why it's happening. Like, I think I get why it's happening anyway. I mean, if you think about it, everybody's a little bit down and stressed at the moment, so sensitivities are running high, and drama is very much... This is a boss battle, I think. Get down. Drama is all very high at the moment, and yeah. I think it's still going to get worse before it gets better, unfortunately. And that was a boss. I actually beat a boss first time. That's pretty rare for me with platformers. Ah, it's the loser. Now, he's a charming wit, that guy. Yeah, pretty much. It's all very stressful. I don't know what I'm meant to be doing right here. I'm trying to stop the wheel and... Oh, there we go. Oh, maybe I just had a whole bunch of turns to do that anyway. Yeah, I don't know who my favourite Sailor Moon character is, to be honest. I mean... Twin Tails is always good, so it's hard to not to be kind of the normie dude that just picks the main character, because yeah, Twin Tails is good. I like the enemy designs and actually this version of the thing. They're quite nice because again, very limited hardware, but not so much the wheel things. I can't stand these wheel things, but the humanoid enemies are quite nicely designed and seem to be quite varied, which is cool. Yeah, I knew it was a bonus game, but it wasn't, like, stopping. It didn't give me an indication of when it was going to stop doing the wheel thing, and... it just seemed to be a number of turns I had to wait. So it looks like this game has a pretty simple formula. You need to pick up the 3 items that allow the Sailor Moon to turn into a super form, and then you beat the boss with that form, which is nice. Simple gameplay. I guess this is a licensed game. Those oldies of us who grew up playing these kinds of games would remember that licensed games were not like they are these days. These days, if it's a licensed game, it's usually I guess the IP owner is really careful about the quality of the game. So we don't see as many licensed games, but they tend to be much higher quality. Back in these days, licensed games were really, you picked them up because you were a fan and you just didn't expect that much from them. But I'm enjoying this, actually. Alright, I will do the best. I did actually look for that. I don't have that on this device right now, unfortunately. So I'll have to try on something else to play it. This device doesn't have too many Japanese games. Like, I couldn't find any of the other versions of Sailor Moon. I probably would have picked up the... probably would have played the arcade one, actually, if I had access to it. Because the arcade Sailor Moon is a really good brawler. Again, not a genre I'm necessarily very good at, but I do really like a good brawler. Spent a lot of time playing Turtles as a kid, especially, and... there we go. Spent a lot of time playing Turtles and Simpsons as a kid. So that genre has always stuck with me. Here we go, turning into super mode. They should do a they should do some visual novels for Sailor Moon. It would work, I think. I would like it. I would like it a great deal. Oh, it's a dancer. I think the difficulty of this one's set pretty low, because that wasn't a very hard boss to beat at all. Oh, yes. I mean, you can review bomb Metacritic for any reason these days. Did you see the entire Shin Megami Tensei series got review bombed because people were not happy that Persona 5 or something was not coming out on Nintendo Switch, but they were doing a remake of Shin Megami Tensei 3 Nocturne, or Lucifer's Call, depending on the region you're in, which people should be very excited about, because Shin Megami Tensei Lucifer's Call is a particularly good game. Very difficult, brutally difficult, one of the hardest JRPGs I've ever played, but magnificent in terms of everything from level design to the writing to the characters. That was one of my most memorable PlayStation 2 games for sure. It's good to see it's getting a remake. I imagine they'll probably do a slightly easier version of it if you want, so you don't have to deal with the crushing difficulty, which thematically went with it because it was meant to be a nihilistic nightmare to play through. And it certainly was claustrophobic in that difficulty, that sense of difficulty, but I imagine by modern standards that would not be acceptable. So they'll probably put an easy mode in there as well or something. Yeah, exactly. Persona 5 at 10 frames per second. That would not have that would not have been good. I mean, I would certainly take Persona on my Switch. Probably more Persona 4. Oh, this is a different minigame. Excellent. That's a cute little sprite. I like that sprite. We should have the whole game with this sprite. What was I saying? Persona 4 on the Persona 4... Ooh, lots of flaws to... I need to find... going back to what I was saying. Persona 4 on the Switch would be great, and I don't see why that couldn't happen. Especially now it's on PC as well. Persona 4 Gold, and that was the better of the Personas anyway. I don't mind Persona 5, but I think that 4 is the better game. Alright, stage 3. We are rocking through this. Now the other thing about these games, these old handheld platformer things, especially the licensed ones, they weren't too long. We might actually get through the whole game in the hour stream today, especially since I'm actually doing better at it than I thought. Except for those damn wheels. They're my enemies. Ah, for goodness sakes. There we go, got one. I killed a wheel. Oops. That came out of nowhere. Now I'm crying. Yeah, I mean, we've talked about Persona on the streams before, Dithy. I do like Persona. I think it's... I really like it, actually. Persona 4 is one of my top 3 or 4 games of all time. But, yeah. I certainly recognise that it has weaknesses. The characterization is very... Oh, dear. Is very standard, tropesy stuff, I guess. But, you know, sometimes you feel in the mood for that as well. So this is a longer level. More enemies to fight. Oh, did you? What'd you think of Death Come True? I know it's not your thing, but yeah, I'd be interested to hear your thoughts about it. I can't stream it at the moment because they threaten legal action for anybody who streams Death Come True, so I'm not going to do that, but it is a game I would like to talk about more. So you liked it? Well, it's... I would have thought it was more gamey than what you generally like. You know, there's decisions to make and things. Ah, got me from behind. Yeah, the problem was that you couldn't... I mean, I get why he didn't want to, because spoiler culture and stuff, and that would have annoyed people and whatever. But at the same time, to be honest, that game you really can't talk about on any meaningful level without talking about some kind of plot points. So it frustrated me that they had that request in there. I got around it anyway. I didn't break too many embargoes or any... There were no embargoes because I bought the thing myself. I didn't break any spoilers, but I did talk about the game in the way that I was kind of happy with. So I got around it in the end. At least it was a polite request, I guess. From what I hear to the way that they dealt with the media. They didn't deal with me. I don't know why. You would have thought after looking at my Danganronpa reviews you'd want me to review his games, but nobody got in touch with little or me. This is a really long level. Maybe they're picking up the difficulty. Yeah, good. Number 2. I like how, despite the incredibly limited hardware they had to work with and whatever, they still took the time to make sure that they got the moving skirt right. Got to get your priorities right with anime games. You know, I actually, for the longest time, when I was growing up and whatever, I thought that the whole skirt thing meant that Sailor Moon was predominantly a show for guys. I thought it was one of those fan servicey things. So for the longest time, I had the wrong idea about what this was meant to be, this whole anime. But I realised now, obviously. if it's mini, why is the enjoyment you get from it doubled? It's true. The shorter the skirt, the more enjoyable it is. Yeah, see, I didn't know all these things, you know. It's coming from a conservative country like Australia, you just see short skirts and you assume it's for men. It's it never occurs to you that perhaps it would be possible to do these kinds of designs as a way of appealing to girls. That's blew my mind when I discovered otherwise. In a good way. I'm very glad to see it. Much more positive approach, I think, than we would have in the West. Oh, it's like a 80s fitness costume person. I like the boss. Oh, come on. Fine, let's hit you with my magic spell. Oh. Seems like I have unlimited uses of this spell, which is excellent. That's going to make the boss battle nice and easy. Do. You may be reading a little bit too much of the Reddit at the moment, Dithia. It seems to be getting you down a bit. Believe me, I know. I know the feeling. I wonder what little minigame we're going to get to enjoy this time. Quite enjoying these minigames. What am I doing? My reading is not that fast. I need a dictionary to... Whoops, I got it wrong. I'm just taking wild guesses. Because I'm just not going to be able to read it in time. Plus, it's a bit pointless given most of the people that would watch this stream back wouldn't know it either. I'm not going to read it. I'm certainly not going to translate it as we go along. It takes me forever to try and read Japanese still, unfortunately. Yeah, I got that. But I wasn't going to be able to figure it out that quickly. I'm still very much at the understand roughly what it is, but try to understand it properly, and I run into trouble. So, it's still very basic level Japanese. I'm a little bit better conversationally than, because I generally have more of an excuse to talk it than read it. We'll see if the questions that were that specific about characters anyway, I wasn't going to get it right. If this game's assuming knowledge that you're an existing fan of Sailor Moon, then I was in big trouble from the start. Oh, those stupid wheel things. Go away. Most difficult thing is dealing with those bloody wheels. Oh, better grab the heart. You play For Honor. There's still people that... What's the community like for that game? I've got to ask, because I actually... I only played For Honor very briefly. And I kind of enjoyed it. It was definitely not my kind of game, but for what it was, I quite enjoyed it. And if it's still got a community going, then good on them, because I can certainly see there was an appeal there. Well, that's a good topic to discuss. What was the story that, oh, they were artificially limiting how many women could get into a pretty prestigious course. I think it was law, medicine, one or the other, in a Japanese university. Pretty horrible story, really. But not that surprising. For workplace conditions for women in Japan, workplace and educational opportunities. Not that I want to get too hard and heavy in my streams when I'm playing retro games about cute anime girls, but yeah, there's definitely things to discuss there, that's for sure. Yeah, that was it. They were artificially lowering the scores to make sure that they couldn't get in. Oh, sorry, they couldn't perform at get the high marks and make sure that the men were staying on top. Quite horrible. Unacceptable, but I'm glad they got called out for it. That's how things start to get better. In theory, anyway. I wonder how many levels this thing has. It can't have too many more. There's no save points either, so you'd have to be able to get through this game in a single sitting. Now, usually for this kind of game, that meant about an hour's worth of play at most, if you could fly through it. And this game's not that difficult, so I'm not having to continue and retry too often. So I'm probably well and truly on my way through. I like the name of that, Exiled in translation. That's great. That's great. I've always wondered, and to be honest, I've never actually polled anybody about it. I've always wondered what the Japanese people thought of Lost in Translation. Because on quite a few levels, I quite admire the charms of that film, but given that it is about the Japanese culture and how white people interact with it, I'm really fascinated to see how they read it. You know what, I'm actually genuinely enjoying this game, as silly as it is, especially since it's one of those games that I can keep talking while I'm playing. So, good choice, Dithy. You picked a good one to recommend this week, even though I don't think this was the one you had in mind. Oh, suggesting Sailor Moon was a good idea. Now we're getting into the platforming stuff. I'm not so good at the platform and stuff. Oh, for goodness sakes. I'm horrible at timing that. I need to be better. Oh no, have to ban the game for that. I mean, ban all Sailor Moon for that. You have to wonder actually, would Sailor Moon get itself... Would it catch the ire of the of our politicians today if it was new? Oh, for goodness sakes! I've just gone and fallen all the way back down to the bottom again. I do feel like the Australian, perhaps because the stuff was previously censored pretty heavily, but the Australian attitude towards anime and manga has definitely toughened over the last, say, 10 years or so. Not for the better, I don't think. There was, yeah, if you go to Kotaku, Kotaku Australia has, has a different article. It wouldn't be pay-locked. Kotaku Australia has a full list of the manga, I think, that got, well, not banned, because it's just removed from one store, but got removed from the Kinokuniya. Yeah, I guarantee you Blue Reflection would find itself in all kinds of trouble if those senators, if it was popular enough for those senators to be aware of it, Blue Reflection would be in all kinds of trouble. They would personally check every single Australian's PlayStation 4 console for that game, and if it was on there, then wham, into the slammer you go. I should play more Blue Reflection. I got a couple of hours into it on a stream on Saturdays. I should take it back up again. I do love my Blue Reflection. I keep begging the good people of Koei to... For goodness sakes. There's just a slight delay when you press the button. It's not quite as precise as we have in modern platformers, and that slight delay is throwing me a bit. I keep begging the good people of Koei to give us a Switch port of Blue Reflection, but they won't. I don't know why. Probably because it sold like 2 copies on launch. Phew, that was a nightmare of a level, that was. Not because it was a hard level, it was just because I can't jump in platformers. This is why another person who's a regular on this stream keeps telling me I should do a keeps telling me I should go away. Keeps telling me I should do a stream of Mega Man, but if you can imagine me with this kind of platforming skill on a Sailor Moon game trying to play Mega Man, you would understand why I've never actually finished a Mega Man game in my entire life. I've tried a couple of them. I may have got through one of the levels of one of them once, but I'm absolutely terrible at those games. There we go. Time to transform again. What level are we up to? Level 4? This is level 4, I think, because it's the 4th boss battle, so yes, we must be up to level 4. Now, if my knowledge of these old platformers are right, this would actually be about, well, pretty close to the final level, because they wouldn't want people playing on too much longer than this, especially the younger kids who maybe picked it up because they like Sailor Moon and then got themselves stuck. Whoa, that's a tough boss. Throwing things at me. How rude. Go away. Getting tougher, these bosses. What's the difference between a politician and a subhuman? The sub part is partially human. That's what the heck is this? I screwed up that mini game. Whatever that was surreal. And we're up to stage 5. And of course the wheels have to show up again. Whoa. Whoa. Come on, that's a bit cheap. Must be at the last level. It's pulling out all the cheap tricks now. Lots of wheels to deal with. Sailor Moon, where's Sailor Sun? Oh, I don't know. I saw at the start of the stream, there were all those. It seemed like you were able to play as all of the Sailor girls, Sailor Mercury, Sailor Venus, and whatnot. But I don't know. I didn't see an option to choose them, so perhaps that's a different mode, or perhaps that's the kind of the new game plus or whatever. Well, that was not a very good jump. Yada yada. Okay. I really should watch more Sailor Moon, shouldn't I? Like, you just get the sense that I would probably enjoy it. I don't know how to watch it. Is it on Crunchyroll? Anime Lab? What would be the best way to watch Sailor Moon? Dizzy? I assume you know all about... Oh my goodness. I assume you know all about Sailor Moon, so what's the best way to watch? You have no idea how much of an actual permanent fear I have of screwing up video games as a game critic. If I was to do that on a stream, can you just imagine? Can you just imagine, especially if it was a game that I'd ended up reviewing badly or something? I've seen that happen to too many other game critics. I'm not going to be the one. I'm going to be brilliant at every one I play. That's the plan anyway. There's actual novels, are there? Ah, dearie me. That was probably a mistake trying to dodge the ball. Let's continue. Let's keep going. So is it, what, light novels, proper novels? Novels as in manga because book? And what came first? Was it like the... Was it the anime that came first with Sailor Moon? Or the manga? Or was it a book first? Cheats are good. Cheats in easy mode. When you're like me and you end up doing an awful lot of reviewing purely for, or not purely, but focused, as I generally am on the story stuff, on the narrative stuff, easy mode is a godsend. Because you just want to get through to the next narrative bit. And you're trying to play an awful lot of JRPGs and crap. You just don't have time for hard modes. With some games I try to then go and experience hard mode later, if I think it's worth it. If I enjoy it enough. Ooh, a good thing. Right, okay, originally a manga. Do you have any idea when the manga actually started being published? It must be pretty old now. Yeah, Horizon was one of them. I did play that, I must admit, quite a lot on easy, because most of my interest in Horizon was to do with the character and narrative. I did turn... what I generally do when I'm reviewing is turn it up to hard for a couple of hours, just to see what it's like under difficult conditions. Because, of course, you've got to know what it's like as a challenge as well. And how far the game actually goes. But, yeah, it's too hard to play so many games on hard mode constantly. 92. Okay, I actually thought it might have been older than that, to be honest. That's weird, because I thought Aloy was quite an attractive character, actually. I don't know what they were thinking about when they... Well, attractive is in a feminine sense. I don't know what they were thinking about when they said that she's too masculine. That weirds me out, because I don't think she was at all. What the heck is going on here? I'm being attacked from two sides all at once. These boss battles are just fascinating. To be honest, these are the better boss battles anyway, because too many boss battles are just annoying for me. I'm not a fan of boss battles. These ones are nice and easy. I like this. Whoa! Still getting hit. This must be the final boss. Ah, I got beat. Oh, yeah, of course. Of course. Good point. Thanks for clarifying that, Dithy. Yeah. Of course it is. It's such a pity that people don't let themselves enjoy games just because they don't happen to agree with the position of that game. Oops. Because I wasn't the world's biggest fan of Horizon. I think I gave it like a 3.5 or a 7 out of 10. 3.5 or 7 out of 10 or whatever you want to call it. I wasn't the world's biggest fan of it, but I did enjoy it for what it was. And there are plenty of games with politics that I don't agree with that I quite enjoy as well. Despite myself, I quite liked Kingdom Come Deliverance, for example. Certainly had issues with it, but yeah, I got it. I got through. No, I'm not suggesting that stuff. Doesn't have to be all that far. There's plenty of ideological positions, let's say, that I don't agree with, that aren't hate-filled, and I can still enjoy them. It actually not. I mean, there's plenty of games as well, but this is particularly true in literature. One of my favourite authors is Yukio Mishima, and he was a hard nationalist. He had his own militia and everything. He was a fascinating fellow, actually. But he wrote, like, his books are an incredible read. Just his mastery over language is just amazing. So, highly recommend Mishima, even though he was a bit of an odd duck. Now, there was another wave of enemy that... there, right. Keeps disappearing and reappearing. That's tough. Go away. Oof. Is that it? Yay, I got through the boss. You can still get, I mean, if it's translated well, and yes, I am praising the translators when I say that, but you can certainly get the tone, like the actual tone of what the author was writing about, and the emotive use of language. I mean, if it's translated well, then it captures the spirit of the original text, right? So, what I'm talking about when I praise it is, yes, I've read Mishima in English, but, yeah, the verb in which he writes is the verb in which he writes is quite lovely, and translated well. Yes, if it was translated badly, maybe I'd think a different thing of him. But I think the core text must be good, otherwise the translation wouldn't work as well as it does. I think that's either I've just come up to an end boss, or I've actually finished the game. I like some manga. Manga's good. There's one, I don't know if you've read it, Diddy, but, well, there's two mangas that I quite recommend. They're both based on ballroom dancing. I love my ballroom dancing. One is called Welcome to the Ballroom, which is great. It's about 10 volumes or something. The other one is called Ten Dance, and Ten Dance is a same-sex kind of story as well. So, yeah, definitely recommend those two. They're good mangas. Manga. And I think I have actually finished it. Unless there's some hidden boss coming on up after this. Or end boss or something. Because that was a very sinister little cutscene right at the end there. But I'm not being... Yeah, no, end. Heh. There you go. How many times did I have to continue? Maybe 5 or 6? No, maybe 4 or 5. 4? 4 continues? 5 continues? Whatever. It took me a couple of continues, but it took me 50 minutes to get through the entirety of Sailor Moon on the Game Gear. I actually genuinely enjoyed this, actually. It was simple, and it was certainly a game of its time. I don't think anybody would suggest it's a great game by any means in terms of how it plays now, but it is fun. Like, a couple of weeks ago we played Shantae, and Shantae's getting a re-release on cartridge on Switch and whatever, as in the Game Boy Color one, because it was a particularly good game, well ahead of its time. This is not in that league by any means, but for what it is, it's quite enjoyable, and yeah. So, I don't really have anything else to play right here and talk about. I think we'll have to end this stream. I've never finished a game on a stream before, because I play JRPGs, and then I decide to move on to the next one before finishing one. But that's it. Sailor Moon. Thanks very much for Diddy, especially for recommending that I play a Sailor Moon game. It was the right choice, something fun to fill the stream library with and look back at later on. And we will be back later on this week. Our next scheduled stream is Friday, but depending how I'm feeling, I might try and do another one either tomorrow or Thursday. either way, I will definitely be here on Friday to do something fun there. We've got plenty of games to play for DDNet After Dark that are a bit fan servicey or a bit adulty. I've got some ideas, and I will narrow the list down about what I want to play later on in the week. Thank you very much again for everybody for watching. Have a good week, everyone, and we will see you at the next stream.